April 25th, Tuesday, 1893. My youngest is already 24, and yet never ceases to surprise me in all of these years. How unexpected for her of all people to just act on what seemed to be a short-notice whim without warning or planning. Though my child has always been so calculated and thoughtful, so there was always some amount of research she would do. If there was anything I knew about Charlotte, she had a strong disagreement with uncertainty and unknown territory. So when she crossed into foreign territories, it meant that she was either very sure of herself or passionate about it. In most cases, both would be true. My little girl had seemed to be gussied up a little more than usual today, so I stopped her and said, "You look more dolled up than normal. Is there something I forgot?"
I have met a new tutor.
Oh, do tell.
I made sure to do a background check on him. His name is Mordecai Blackwood. He is the son of a famous composer and violinist, Mortimer Blackwood, and a singer, Celine Argyris. Mr. Blackwood is also a composer and violinist, and specializes in many other components of music.
He's not a bassist, no. Nor is he?
I believe he does know the basics of bass, but he is more of tutoring me in music theory and composing. I also personally think it would also be nice to pick up a few more instrumental talents myself, as he knows the basics of quite a few based upon his work. He is a musical prodigy, but seeing his lineage, it's not so surprising that he would be.
Ah. When shall your first lesson be?
Today. We shall mainly meet on weekdays, especially Tuesdays and Thursdays.
I wasn't aware you had planned to bring a guest to the manor today. Charlotte usually wasn't so careless in such situations, and almost always ran everything by me first. So for her to slip up once or twice was not worthy of scolding or a lecture. No matter. I suppose 'tis a fine enough order. I just would prefer some sort of notice in advance next time.
Well, actually, I am going to him. We shall be meeting at his studio instead of him coming to your manor.
Oh? That sounded like a rather inappropriate setting for someone of her age and era. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I know Charlotte to not be naive and foolish, but I can't disconnect the idea of her possibly being tricked and taken advantage of. You'll be unchaperoned. Why is he not coming here? He is being paid, is he not?
Of course I am paying him, but Mr. Blackwood has a sort of condition that makes it excruciatingly hard for him to come out. In fact, he even has to wear black clothes that cover him from head to toe, including a mask over his face. His condition is very much affected by environment, so his studio is one of the best places for him to be.
He sounds suspicious. You haven't even seen his face? How do you know he really has a condition?
It is much too warm to dress the way he does on a daily basis without good reason.
Why are you eager to be his student?
There is so much knowledge that he has that I would love to learn myself. I always wanted to write music, but I never really knew where to start. And not saying I am bored of bass, but it is boring to know only bass. If he buggers me once, if he gives me any reason not to trust him, or to feel that I am in harm's way in his presence, I will leave immediately and let you know. But I pride myself in reading people, and I pride myself even more in not trusting people easily. But this man, I feel that there is no ill will from him at all. His body seems too frail to even hurt me, and his mind too innocent to want to. All there seems to be in that brain of his is a love and passion for music, and the desire to share it.
How passionately she spoke over someone else that was more or less a stranger.
I've taken a great liking to his compositions. I do not want to mimic, but I want to learn how to write in the way he does.
I felt a strange unease by this scenario, but I wanted to trust Charlotte in her judgment. She did learn from me of all people on how human beings really are. So with a rather put-off sigh, I responded, "All right then. I shall give you my blessings for these lessons, and put faith in your instincts."
You having faith in something? Now that is a laugh.
Do not make light of this situation, Charlotte. This is a rather odd predicament. Odd for a lady to be alone with a strange man, and odd for you in general. But you seem sure of yourself. I patted my child on the head. You know what this means, right? Now you must play for me one of your original pieces once you have composed it. She chitters as she gently waves my hand away.
Of course, of course.
Charlotte took leave around noon and made it home safely before dark. She seemed both rather elated and yet somewhat disheartened. I wonder if these lessons are stirring up memories from her. She always was quick to get rid of tutors the moment they grovel at her potential and skill. I am sure that is a possibility as always.
Tuesday, the 25th of April, 1893. 10 o'clock. Miss Dunkelheit had returned today just like she said she would, but I had not truly made up my mind. If anything, her appearing would be the determining factor, even if I felt perplexed over the entire situation. The young woman knocked upon the entrance to my home before proceeding to enter. After some initial and awkward greeting, I led her into the heart of my home where we would make ourselves our workplace. She quickly got settled there with great awareness of her surroundings, constantly checking where she sat herself and looking around. I light-heartedly said, "I hope you do not mind the rats. This is as much their home as it is mine, if not more so." She almost perked up as she replied,
I've always been fond of rats. As a child, I wanted to keep one as a pet, but my Vater didn't like the idea of real rats in the house, so he mercilessly killed it before my eyes.
I was almost speechless. For one, I was thrilled that she actually liked the rats, for they were my only family left. But secondarily, what a heart-aching experience that must have been. I am so sorry.
My Vater did once allow me to have a cat before that, but it wasn't allowed to roam the house. One day I carelessly left my bedroom door open, and my Vater found my cat before I did. Let's just say I never saw that cat again. He did buy me a new cat later as an apology for the rat incident.
I was astounded how casually she was saying all of this, almost unflinching and unmoved. Sorry to seem like I am changing focus, but what is Vater?
Vater. It is the German word for father.
Your father, or rather Vater, sounds to be rather a cold man.
He has his warm moments. It was my fault both times anyway.
The young woman began to scan the room again, almost like she was looking for some sort of distraction.
Oh, you have a piano!
Miss Dunkelheit ran up to the instrument and began to gently stroke across the keys. Do you play?
My male was a renowned harpsichordist. She was able to teach me a little before she passed away, though I cannot say I am perfectly well off. After the first year or two, I had to be self-taught since she left this world, and I couldn't bring myself to ask my Vater to have someone tutor me with the instrument.
Her eyes slightly widened as though she realized she said something she really ought not to.
I did not want to bring back any painful memories.
Understandable. I imagine it would have reminded him of her.
Would it be alright if I...
She gestured at the piano, and I instantly knew what she was asking. Oh, of course. Be my guest. I was quite eager to hear her play, to be perfectly honest. I wondered what her default would be, the song that she was about to play. I was also curious to see her skill level. Miss Dunkelheit sat on the bench and began to tickle the ivories with a melody I had never heard before. It had such a sound of bittersweet melancholy, but was a bit unfurnished. She got a few bars in before she was stopped. I asked, "That was an original piece, wasn't it? Is it yours?"
My male wrote it, though she didn't write her own compositions that often. It was more of a hobby she picked up after becoming a housewife. It was a form of self-expression.
It has such a heartbroken and mournful sound to it. If you do not mind me asking, was she unhappy in her household position?
I suppose that's a simple way to put it. She did give up her fame and talents to have a family. I heard she was quite a socialite and showstopper, lived for the limelight. But that all changed and she stopped performing for grand halls after she married. Her only audiences would be her husband, family, or my Vater's guests, and even then...
She began to trail off, Miss Dunkelheit's jewel-coloured eyes glistening.
She was having a hard time playing in front of people after she wedded, though it sounded to be due to stress.
How old were you when you lost her?
I'd just turned 9 when she passed.
You at least have fond memories of her, do you not?
Oh yes, very much so. She was my fairy queen. I've yet to meet a woman more beautiful than she, though she had her own faults, but all of us do. What about your mother? She was a performer too, no?
She died shortly after giving birth to me.
I'm so sorry.
So am I.
Enough of this prittle-prattle. We are here for music, are we not?
Of course. Miss Dunkelheit shot up from the bench and looked at me expectantly as though for some guidance or direction. I insisted for her to sit back down, as the piano would actually make a good place to start. Speaking of places to start, I was not quite sure where I should have begun. Clearly she knew the basics and fundamentals of music, so I did not really want to insult her by starting from the beginning. Though, for the most part, the young woman listened intently to everything I had to say, as though I was giving her divine information. Miss Charlotte Dunkelheit is proving to be quite an interesting pupil.